伊今仔要甲大家介绍的，就是讲 real war 哦 against America， 到底什么吼啊？过来，这拢真紧就要跳过吼。迄个，这个规个 story 就是讲，到底伊是安怎哦 get into 这个老鼠啊，互咱大家会去 pay attention 吼。这是 flyer 咱会馆啊，会诊甲咱 produce 吼，过来。OK， 伊伫19岁时阵，大家报告就讲19岁伊伫 Stanford 读大学嘅时阵，就已经创立一个公司，迄个公司叫做迄个Super Vision 吼，就是 fiber 迄个 fiber optic 嘅迄个公司吼，啊，就上市，确实真无简单。过来，伊伫即个2000年，其实伊 fight for this case actually is over 14 years, right? Since 2002， 所以 actually 是已經14年啊，吼，對即個老師嘅 case， 因為伊嘅智慧財產去用淘汰去吼，啊，伊嘅員工甲伊淘汰。OK， 伊伫2003年嘅時陣，伊就贏即個 case， 啊，伊伫2009年，伊甲伊嘅即個 right 吼，甲賣互。其實是伊家己佫創立一個公司啦，叫做 B&M 啊 Kingstone 這個公司，所以規個 case 就對 Florida 啊刷去紐約吼。後來就是2015年嘅時陣，就已經佇 New York State 嘅Supreme Court 已經判決伊贏哦，啊規定講 Mega Bank 愛甲伊嘅資料摕出來，迄個 Mega Bank 愛甲資料迄個。相似物的資料貼出來，結果一直攏無進行吼，所以伊這個 case 呢，就法院判決了的時陣 ，actually 有看伊一個 national law review， 這個是一個國家的這個法律評鑑吼，真有名啊 ，very outstanding 吼。過來就是這個 consent order， 迄是台灣 community 是安怎去 pay attention， 就是因為這個 consent order， 台灣基本法57億大票，吼，1.8億嘅迄個美金，所以 shock to everyone， 吼。即擺要大家介紹 how he loved his home country， 伊用偌濟時間等於回饋伊嘅本來國家吼，以色列吼。這就是伊去老本的時陣啦，吼。為了要來咱遮，伊坐 private jet 來咱遮。OK， 伊朋友吼，解載過來吼，載過來遮吼，真甘心啦吼，真甘心吼 ，OK。OK， 這個伊就，咱伊當甲咱 share， 毋是干那講這個咩個 case， 伊是非常成功嘅一個房地產，吼，就所以伊也要甲講 real estate 吼，佢是 expert。OK。這禮拜一，伊 actually 喺 Washington DC 做個 presentation，the Security 50內底，伊是一個 speaker 吼。500 ，I'm sorry， 500。哦。OK。16拜三，伊 actually 參加一個真重要嘅迄個 event 喺 Palm Springs 哦 ，yeah。Beverly Hills。Yeah。昨早起，咱即擺就要11點啊吼。昨早起伊就有 Facebook， 甲 Facebook 嘅頭家食飯吼，早餐吼，所以伊是 really like our community， 要甲咱 exchange 吼 information。OK， 這就是伊要來以前伫分店。OK。OK， 咱知影，這就是咱要歡迎伊個迄個 keynote speaker 吼。 At this time, we like to, without any further ado, we'd like to welcome Mr. Kingstone to.
My professor. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Very well. A little Mandarin I know, Ni hao ma. Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it. You have a very enthusiastic force in your community, John. Because I didn't know him from anything, and he called me and he brought me here, so thank you, John. Before we get started, I will have a little present for John I want to present to you. John, this is from one of the greatest commando organizations in the world, the Israeli Navy SEALs, which along with the United States Navy SEALs are probably the most trained experts at defending the freedom of the world. We've done missions that are beyond belief. And you now officially are an Israeli Navy SEAL. So now all of a sudden, if he wears his hat long enough, he may not want wonton soup or egg drop soup. He wants my matzo ball soup instead. All right. Does everybody understand?
Yeah.
All right.
PhD degree.
Oh, you guys are much smarter than me. I only undergraduate. I got accepted to Stanford Business School twice, but the problem is I had already taken my company public and I had 100 or more employees, and I thought, what am I going to happen to my employees if I leave and go to business school? So, the joke at Stanford is, if you drop out, you become a billionaire. If you graduate, you only become a millionaire. So, we all make mistakes. One of the reasons why I connected with John, and I must tell you, I'm not only impressed. Look, we were perfect strangers when you called. And I was all over the Chinese television with Professor Peng. I'm sure, how many people listen to Dennis Peng? Yeah, amazing guy. But he had the courage to call me out of nowhere, but I immediately just felt the commitment he had to his community, to the issues. There was a passion there that I could sense. And entrepreneurs have pretty good instincts. We might do crazy things like jump out of airplanes or ride our motorcycles up to women's dormitory at Stanford, which I got expelled once for doing. But we can get a good sense when you have somebody, our instincts can tell when someone's completely committed. And that was even confirmed today when his son was driving the van that picked my daughter Victoria up and myself from our hotel in San Francisco, like a 2-hour round trip, and the son volunteered to do that. And his other son got me mic'd up today. The whole family is committed to the cause of wanting the same thing that I think we all want, Americans from all backgrounds. As mentioned earlier, I'm from a Jewish American family. My great-grandfather immigrated here from Russia, the other part of the family from Israel. We had 3 generations of my family serve in the military at time of war because they appreciated the freedom they had here. In Russia, they were burning down Jewish villages because they called them pogroms, because the czarist leaders, the dictators, wanted to make a scapegoat of some people so they would not pay attention to the fact that the czars were ripping off the country of all its riches. And we also know in other countries around the world, particularly, unfortunately now, we see in South America as well as China and Taiwan, there's amazing corruption, and it's literally stealing the rights, not just the capital, the resources, but the rights of the people there. One of the things I remembered most when I was at Stanford is, I was a student around the time they had the Beijing massacre, where they were shooting students my age in Beijing. Other students, okay? For what? Protesting. I mean, there are people in White Plaza in Stanford protesting for everything and every reason every day. We don't even pay attention to them. But in Beijing, they were shooting young people my old age. my same age. Doesn't matter if they're Chinese or American or Italians or Germans. The fact that any government would shoot their own people in their square shows what we're all here for, is for freedom. And I respect, I think there's a lot of similarities. I was making a joke about Facebook. How many people saw the movie The Social Network about Facebook? You need to see with Mark Zuckerberg, because Mark Zuckerberg, a Jewish guy, is married to a Chinese girl, and in the movie he says, "What is it with Jewish guys and Chinese women? Why are we always winding up together?" It's a funny scene. I won't say the rest. I want to ruin it for you. Go see the movie. But because I think there's a similarity, is that we both, although are all here very proud to be American, we're also proud of our culture and our heritage, and we also feel a responsibility to our families in Taiwan, our families in Israel, our families in Russia, in other countries where our people came from, because we realize that we want to share the same freedom and the same opportunity that we've had to our families overseas, and we don't want to see injustice happen anywhere. So there is a commonality here. It goes beyond just, watching soap operas on TV, and unfortunately now I think the attention span of an average American is a tweet. I remember, it used to be 30 seconds in a commercial, now it's a 2-second tweet. The fact that we do have values and we do have things that we believe in and we respect our culture, and I think that's part of the American fabric. So again, John, thank you very much for giving the opportunity. All right, with that, thank you, John. And also, Professor Cheng and Mr. Cheng, I appreciate you as well. By the way, although I didn't get it word for word, I could tell by the charts and the graphs you were very detailed. So what I'm going to do is give you the backstory to Professor Cheng's presentation. Why am I here? How did this happen? Where did this all start? And one of the things I want to mention before my presentation is, I think the real war against America is not between the Chinese and the American people. It's between the governments or the individuals occupying the governments in China and our society, which doesn't promote freedom. And I understand one of the main things that you are advocating here is to have that freedom, have that openness in China and in Taiwan, where things are fully disclosed and people do have the opportunity to speak their minds. So how did this start? That was my facility. We started in a garage in Palo Alto and then moved ultimately to Florida because we had a couple of big contracts with Disney and Universal and what have you. That was our facility that we grew into in Orlando, Florida. By the way, just this one. Right, thank you. Point there. See, but even with an engineering degree at Stanford, I can't figure out how to use this thing. I used to ask my son or my daughter to get on the computer for me to do email and stuff. All right. This is an overview of the case we received. It was $39 million plus punitive damages, $41.2 million case against, you see, dozens of Chinese corporations listed in 5 continents around the world. This was a giant octopus with tentacles everywhere. And it took us literally 2.5 years and over $1.5 million in legal fees to get to this point where we got this decision. But basically, the $42 million judgment, we only collected about $3 million, mainly in seizures of property in their facilities. It was only a drop in the bucket. We didn't collect more than a fraction of that. It was largely, as we say, a Pyrrhic victory, which means, we got the judgment, but we didn't collect on it. They wired about $28 million out of the United States within weeks of the judgment, again, in violation of the law. And guess where the money went? Mega Bank. Okay? And then Mega Bank claims in many cases, both in Panama, we got a Supreme Court order in Panama against Mega Bank to turn over their bank records. Out of 30 banks that we served the order, Mega Bank was the only one that didn't comply. Every other bank complied and turned over their records. Okay? We then went after them in Florida. They unfortunately lied and said, no, we don't have any information. And then ultimately we went after them in New York. In New York Supreme Court, Judge Geoffrey Wright, who's a very distinguished jurist, said, absolutely they are required to turn it over. Mega Bank then appealed to the New York Supreme Court Appellate Division and lost. We wanted a unanimous decision. They must turn it over. And then we went to the New York State Court of Appeals, the highest court in New York, and they unanimously approved the decision. And to this day, Mega Bank is still not complying with the court order. So my answer, part of the answer to the question that Professor Chen said, why are they paying a $180 million fine? Why, if they didn't money launder, why didn't they just fight it, hire lawyers? And by the way, that $180 million is not their money. It's the money of the Taiwanese people, pension funds, investors, shareholders. Who are they protecting? And after losing in 3 major cases, they still are violating laws. The question is, who are they protecting? And I'll tell you something, I was never this famous in Taiwan until this case happened. I had no idea. But obviously, there has to be a reason. I think Professor Chen outlined the technical very, very well, technical data. The question still remains, why would they pay a $180 million fine and not fight it? And why are they still refusing to turn over documents and records? Who and how powerful an individual or a group of individuals are they protecting that they are willing to pay this money and literally violate court orders? That question remains to be answered. So anyway, the backstory of how we got to this point, I'll just give you a brief overview. I wrote the book, The Real War Against America, after the case was over, mainly because I wasn't sleeping very well even after we won, because we just could never collect, and they were playing like that shell game. Every time we would serve an order on one corporation, they would fold it, bankrupt it, move the money to another corporation, so you have to find another corporation, another suit and file. It was very frustrating. I felt that we won the case, but we didn't get justice. So I wrote the book, The Real War Against America, which, by the way, we have negotiated movie rights with a guy named Jeff Apple, who did In the Line of Fire with Clint Eastwood and The Recruit with Al Pacino. Don't know whenever ever it's going to get made, but we'll see. Only 1 out of 10 actually do. And like most books, you have the main characters. It's myself with our first 2 employees, John Gonzalez and Roy Archer, where we built the whole business literally from the ground up together. And then, of course, your other main characters, which you'll learn more about. That's John Fisher, this, as he would say, very handsome, dapper man. He's very proud of himself. He's always with an unlit cigar. He's a Yale Law School graduate, graduated top in his class, who once told me, I'm not only the smartest lawyer you've met, I'm the smartest lawyer you'll ever meet. So he was very proud of himself. And that was a first-year law student, Joe Tamburello. First year at a University of Florida Law School, goes to work on what not only becomes his firm's biggest case, but the biggest jury verdict ever issued of his firm in any case, and in the state of Florida for intellectual property law. So talk about jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. We nicknamed him Austin Powers. You know the movie Austin Powers? And the guy goes, yeah, baby, all that. Because he always would recite things from the movie. He had a second marriage with a young son who was 6 years old, would love to go to the Austin Power movie, so we nicknamed him Austin Powers. And this guy here we nicknamed the human computer because he had this ability to memorize case law like chapter and verse, page number. We didn't know where he had this ability from. We later found out that on the weekends, his real passion was in the theater. He would read scripts, and because he told me it was easy to memorize case law because he would memorize scripts. So that was his talent. So, right? We're going to point back, huh? All right, here we go. Oh, all right. Uh-oh, here we go. All right, so, like the movie Austin Power, we gave names to all the bad guys. We named them after villains in the movie Austin Power. So, Samson Wu was... that bastard. You remember that guy? One of the villains. And Samson was pretty much as wide as he was tall, so he fit the bill. That's Samson after we got a, what is called a right of replevin to break into his facility in Miami at a bonded customs warehouse, and the police made him open his vault. We searched in there, we found not only blueprints and documentations to our proprietary machinery, but also we found components that were actually stolen from our laboratory that was in Samson's facility, that some of which he already had exported to Shanghai, to his factory there, to actually duplicate our process by using our own equipment against us and our own blueprints. And then his brother, Mini-Me. Why? Because Thomas Wu was about half as wide as Samson Wu, so we called him Mini-Me. I mean, again, you're in depositions and interrogatories where the two guys are saying, answered every question. I exercise my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. It would not answer any questions. And in depositions and interrogatories. Even at trial, it was getting boring, so you had to say something funny to keep, let the time pass. And that's, by the way, when the FBI raided their booth at the Orange County Convention Center in Orange County, Florida. So you imagine the audacity of these criminals. They not only stole our technology, but they actually attended a trade show in our own hometown of Orlando, Florida, showing our stolen products and selling them. Fortunately, the FBI came and shut them down, and but anyway, that's an actual picture of them standing at their booth. All right, so let's talk about the technology real briefly. And I'm a big movie fan. How many of you have seen Wall Street with Michael Douglas? Wall Street, another movie you got to see. So go home, see the Facebook, the social network, then Michael Douglas, Wall Street. That's the first Wall Street movie. One of the things Michael Douglas, who played the villain Gordon Gekko, the bad investment banker who was stealing from everybody, why did you steal the company? Because it was stealable. Why did you wreck the company? Because it was wreckable. A big point of my book is, why do technology thieves steal American ingenuity and technology? It's because they can. And the FBI will even tell you the likelihood of any intellectual property thief, whether they're from Russia, China, South America, anywhere in the world, going to jail, is about equally as likely as them being hit by lightning twice. Okay? It's just not enforced. And a lot of times they steal it over the internet, they break into, they get the files, they get the algorithms to the computer program, or they get the blueprints, and they're 5,000, 10,000 miles away, and they're outside our jurisdiction. So again, why is our technology being stolen? A lot of your kids, I know, are going to school. A few of them went to Stanford and Berkeley. They're working hard, they're developing a new technology, they're building a new company, and then overnight somebody raids their files and steals all the things that your kids have been working on for years. And now all of a sudden it's being used, let's say, in another part of the world where people are being paid half the wage. They're going to be put out of business. It's only a matter of months. That's how serious this is. We're lost. The United States has lost millions of jobs in manufacturing because of this. So let's talk about the technology. We started out building big toys for the big companies like Coca-Cola and AT&T. That's in Times Square. That's me with the Coke bottle before it got its haircut. We had the fiber optics in it, which gave the image with the light changing from yellow to from green to brown, that the bottle was being emptied when the straw came out. In Times Square, it was on Paula Abdul's rock video, and every time New Year's Eve, Dick Clark, they were showing that. That was our company when we only had about 50 people when we were starting out. That's one half of the AT&T globe in Times Square. We later then got contracts for large signage projects around the world. This one is the Pepsi-Cola globe in Caracas, Venezuela. We used 7.5 kilometers, okay, of fiber optic cable on that project. And basically what we wanted to do is move away from building big toys for the big companies and get into a more commodity business that we could produce thousands and thousands of meters or miles of a standardized product that we could sell worldwide without having to do all these custom jobs. That wouldn't have allowed us to become a big business, but building a standardized product compete with a $30 billion market, which is neon, was a great opportunity. And the big advantage of fiber optic cable is it uses 1/20th the electricity of neon. It eliminates the safety hazard. The second biggest cause of restaurant and hotel fires in the United States after the kitchen catching on fire is the neon transformer arcing. You have 30,000, in an average 15,000 milliamp neon transformer, you can reduce that to like 12 volts with a fiber optic transformer. So it's a tremendous energy reduction, eliminate energy hazard, plus there's no electricity running through the cable, just light. We're actually shooting light through the cable. Now, you can see the airport in Moscow we did. We did the world's tallest structure, the Victoria Art Center Spire in Melbourne, Australia. Hard Rock cafes and McDonald's all over the world. There's McDonald's. And then in Iceland, I'll stop here for a minute. This was our first, when we first started the company, our first international distributor of all places was one of the smallest countries in the world in Iceland. And it was owned by a gentleman named Johannes Tryggvason. He came to us at a trade show and he says, I'm going to teach you guys how to sell worldwide. I'm going to be your biggest customer. And by the way, he was from a country that had 1/4 the population of my city of Orlando, only 250,000 people. But very interesting character, and ultimately got us to do displays all over Iceland, in Reykjavik. You can see we've done a lot of hotels. That's the band shell outside of Lake Eola at Orlando, Florida. And then we developed applications for swimming pools. Now why? obviously having a 110-volt electric bulb below the water line when the only thing separating that electricity from your child swimming in the pool is a quarter-inch piece of glass cap is not a very safe thing. Well, with fiber optics, all you have is light being transmitted, no electricity below the water line. So we could actually outline the pool with cyclone cable, light up the entire swimming pool, even light up the waterfalls. So it was a very big application of our technology. And this is the Westin in St. John, Virgin Islands. Now, I should tell you, at that time we did that job, the average age of my company was like 25 years old. And this job was supposed to take 3 days, and somehow it took 2 weeks. I wonder why. The good news is we had 2 staff members that came back, decided they wanted to get married, but I guess it was a beautiful place to be, St. John, Virgin Islands, so we had a lot of technical issues on this job. I don't know why. But maybe you can see. All right. We did, in Mitsui, Greenland, and Osaka, Japan, we had our distributor, Keiji Yamada, who I should also be very proud of. He was best man at my wedding. He flew all the way out from Tokyo to Argentina to attend my wedding. I attended as well. He's a world champion surfer in Japan, the #1 surfing guy in Japan. So once a year I would go out and see him. He would take us surfing outside of Tokyo. He got these projects such as Mitsui, Greenland, the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan, all with our fiber optic cable. And then, of course, we started exporting to China in 1995. Now, one of the things we were very proud of as young Americans is that we were actually exporting products more outside the United States than what we're even selling in the U.S. That we were a net GNP creator for the United States. We were generating revenue, selling our products in Japan, in China, in Russia, in Moscow, and generating revenue and creating jobs here in the United States, which was something we were very proud of. Obviously, at our first trade show, we had a number of people from certain companies overseas that would come and look at our products a little too carefully, take photographs. We realized we were doing more than admiring our product. And then all of a sudden, we had these counterfeits come out, almost within weeks of attending that show. But they weren't very good, and we didn't understand, so we didn't really pay much attention to it. But all of a sudden, many months later, products were coming out that were very close in the quality level and the output of our product, almost like somebody gave them a blueprint to our operations. We didn't understand how that happened until we had private investigators photograph one of our engineers, Jack Caruso, with James Lee, who is Samson Wu's brother-in-law, in Shanghai while he's still employed by us, signed a confidential non-compete agreement, and claimed he was taking leave because he was getting a divorce. Instead, he was in Shanghai, China, basically selling our technology to our competitors. Our blueprints, our chemical formulations, everything, lock, stock, and barrel, was being sold to them. They promised him an FBI tape-recorded phone call where Special Agent Kevin Hogan of the Maitland office of the FBI recorded a conversation where he was offered $1.2 million to steal technology that cost us over $20 million to develop and 7 to 8 years worth of hard work. So you can imagine overnight, your entire company can be stolen out from under you and cloned, okay, by somebody who's corrupt and willing to pay off somebody. So here you see drawings that he had faxed to a law firm in Orlando and Washington, D.C., copying piece by piece our products and our machinery and equipment. There it is. And they actually filed patents on documents that we kept trade secret for a reason, because if you publish it in your patent, guess what? It becomes a blueprint for your competitors. So piece by piece, you could see that every